Let me invite Pastor Jeremiah and Pastor Roger to come in because this day is an interesting day in the church year. It is the start of what we consider as Christians the holiest week of the year. Not because of the fish fries around town, but because of the days that we get to celebrate what Jesus has done. Now, you maybe have heard the term that there's Christian and Christmas and Easter people. You know, sometimes people that just go into church on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day and then on Easter. But you don't often hear that there's Christmas and Palm Sunday people, do you? Or Christmas and Maundy Thursday people, or Christmas and Good Friday people. No. Many times we skip over these three really important moments. And when we do, we miss out, when we get to Easter, we miss out on the depth of the story and where Jesus has to go to bring us past that cross to an empty tomb. My father-in-law used to say, it's not fair just to go to church on Easter. It's like you missed half the story. And really, we miss more of the story when we skip. And here we are on Palm Sunday. Here we are when Jesus had entered, when he's come down the path, when the disciples are around and they are cheering and yelling and excited because they expected a king. But as my kids would say, plot twist, it's a different kind of king. See, the expectations were through the roof, as we know. He was going to restore them to power, and everything was going to be brought back together. He was a king, a powerful king, a king on a throne with gold and all the stuff that we think of kings in this day and age. But what they got was a very, very different kind of king. They got a king that was sacrificial. They got a king that was vulnerable. They got a king that was shifting our focus from power to service. They got a king that was keeping the promises that God had been telling them about for ages and ages and ages. That's the king that arrived on Palm Sunday and took his disciples and our people on some very important stops along the way. One of them was on Maundy Thursday, which comes up later this week.
Maundy Thursday is one of my favorite festivals or days that we observe in the whole church year. Maundy coming from the word mandate, of which you know, where Christ gives us the commandment to love one another. Love one another as I've loved you. But for me, Maundy Thursday, I naturally think of hot dogs. Hot dogs.
Okay.
My wife and I, we have a big debate about hot dogs right now. She's a big fan of Salen's. I, with parents from Rochester, Zweigels. Yes, Team Zweigels? No? So my mom loves Zweigels hot dogs. And so every time I have a Zweigels hot dog, I remember my mom. I remember the love that she had for me and for my brothers, and that in that meal, I'm still loved. And not only on Maundy Thursday do we remember Christ's commandment to love one another, but we also remember that he broke bread and gave wine and said, do this in remembrance of me for the forgiveness of sins. In the Last Supper, what we now call Holy Communion, we are still loved. And as we journey through all of these stories, each of these important days, we remember that we are loved in the meal and we are loved in the story. And of course, that takes us to Good Friday.
And on Good Friday, we hear a story that is traumatic and awful. It is the story of what happens after that Last Supper where Jesus is gathered together with his disciples. As soon as that meal ends, Jesus goes into a garden and prays because he knows what the next few hours are going to bring. And as he's praying, he sees the soldiers come with their torches, and they're there with one of his own disciples, Judas, who betrays him. And he's led away before Pilate, the governor, where he is accused of all sorts of things that he didn't do. And we, people of faith, we have to hear again these insults, these terrible accusations against a man that we have journeyed with, we have walked with, especially through these days of Lent as we've all gone towards this cross together. And after all of the hitting and the spitting and the violence and the false accusations, that's where they bring him. He has to pick up a a big cross and carry it to a hill where they nail him to it. And what I always think is just incredible and amazing, and something that I know I would not have the strength to do, is no matter what they threw at him, he didn't lift a finger. He didn't throw a punch back. He didn't spit back. He didn't hurl any insults back. He surrendered. He gave everything up so that we might know that God, no matter how violent we are, no matter how awful things seem around us, God refuses to go there. God's judgment on the cross, it's always going to be unconditional love and forgiveness. And that's the story of Good Friday. And they take him down from the cross where he breathes his last breath. And there they take care of his body and they lay it in a tomb. And I can't imagine how sad and quiet everything became all around for those next few hours. But that's not the end of the story, is it, Pastor Steve?
No, we wander around when it looked like death was the final part, the final chapter of this story. And sometimes we're in tears in those moments. And maybe you've had those moments, maybe you're in those moments right now. But there's a profound window of stained glass in this church that we film in today here at Zion. And this shot of Mary kneeling down next to the tomb in tears has a very risen Savior come to her. And you want to talk about plot twist. When we expect death, God brings new life. And so today on this Palm Sunday, we invite you to take the journey to Easter and stop and dwell in these moments where we get to celebrate, where we get to wave the palms and yell and scream that Jesus is arriving into our cities, where we remember the story when we have things and the promise comes with it for all who've gone before us and we're connected to them, when we remember how much Jesus will give for us time and time again. And in all those moments, they will indeed end with an incredible plot twist that changed all of our lives and yours as well. That we live into this Easter life today. So wave the palms and celebrate that Jesus has arrived.